Hi, Dr. Raz here. Going to talk a little bit today about hormones, specifically a type of hormone called an auxin, and how that affects a process called tropism, which is either moving towards the light, which makes it positive tropism, or away from light, which would make it negative, or towards gravity, which would be a positive tropism, like the roots moving downward, or negative tropism, which means moving away from gravity. So we're going to take a look at those today and see where that takes us. And then tomorrow, Tuesday, we will take a look at propagation. Wednesday is a no contact day. Thursday, we're going to finish up with looking at reproduction in plants. Friday, we will have a check-in on Zoom and a review on KimKit. And then Monday, I will put up the Unit 5 plant test. So we'll have all that taken care of by next week, and then we'll go into our final topic, which is energetics of plants, which includes photosynthesis and cell respiration. So we'll look at those two again, just a little bit more in depth than what you had in the pre-IB bio. Right? So let's take a look today at hormones in plants. Now, we know that in general, hormones are messages, right, that are sent from one part of an organism, and in this case, we're talking about plants, to another, and we get a response somewhere else. So it's kind of a stimulus response type of activity. We are going to look specifically in plants at the hormone growth up here in the stem. Remember, we call that the apical meristem, which is the shoot apical meristem, which is right up here. And it can be involved in flowering or the creation of a leaf, whatever happens to be going on at that tip. We're also going to look, when we talk about other like gravitropism, we're going to look at the root systems also. So we'll take a look at all those. Now, if we're looking at this graphic here, we see that from that apex or stem part from the node here come out the leaves, and then we also get flowering that can also occur. And then downward with the root systems. So we got a lot of stuff going on, right? From that seed, we've got roots growing down the most part towards, because of the pull of gravity, and we have leaves and flowers that are going to come because the plant is going towards the light, which is a phototropism. So we're going to take a look at both of those. Now, the type of hormone that we're talking about, as I mentioned, is what is called an auxin, right? And auxins have a lot of different functions. For the most part, we're going to see them do a couple things, right? Stimulate the growth of roots, right? So plants can take hold in soil. And we'll also look at the ways that leaves and fruits and flowers will grow from those plant tips. So when we're talking about shoot apical meristems, right, we're talking about growth at the tips of plants from nodes that form. So these nodes are regions in the meristem that are going to either give us a leaf or a flower or fruit of some sort. The higher the concentration of auxins in this area, the less growth that you're going to see. So when leaves like this bend towards the sunlight, we get more growth. But the reason we're getting more growth is because on the shade side, we are going to have more auxins. And the more auxins then would inhibit growth on the shade side. And that's why we get that pull towards the light. So we're going to take a look at that. Here's an actual stem growing around a plant here. And what we're going to see is that these auxins or types of hormones are going to control how a plant grows, right? Not only the stem of the plant, how it grows, but how the root system is also going to grow. Now, whenever we're talking about some sort of directional growth, that's where we're talking about a tropism. And tropisms can be one of two things, right? Either a phototropism, it's over here a little bit, or a gravitropism. Now, phototropisms mean that the stem is going to usually grow towards the light, and the roots grow away from the light. So because our phototropism is we're going toward the light with the stem, that is what we consider to be a positive tropism. And down in the root system, because the roots are moving away from the light and growing that way, what we find is that then is a negative phototropism. And we're going to see the opposite when we talk about roots. The second type of tropism is gravitotropism. And this is a growth according to gravity, right? The pulls of gravity. So the stem, any growth from the stem here is moving away from the pull of gravity. It's not in line with the pull of gravity, so that would be a negative gravitropism. Our root systems, which of course are down here underneath the soil, are growing towards or with the pull of gravity towards the center of the earth. And so then we consider those to be positive gravitropisms. So with the stem, we have a positive phototropism, but a negative gravitropism. And with the roots, we have a positive gravitropism while we have a negative phototropism. We look at, here's some shoots here springing up, and we can see they're all bending right towards the light. There are phototropins, which are kind of light receptors that are inside of the cells of these plants. And when they get activated, because of the presence of light, these shoots will bend toward the light. And what happens is that the light will also cause the creation or movement of auxins, which are the hormones that we're talking about. So the auxins do better in the shade. So they're going to be stimulated, and they're going to move because of diffusion, right? As the water comes into that plant, it's going to diffuse and take the auxins from areas of higher concentration to areas of lower concentration. And that's going to be on the underside here. Because we have a concentration of auxins on the other side or away from light, that's where we get the bending, right? The upper portions that have less auxins will bend toward the light. So if we look here, here's our sunlight, here's our shoot, here's the auxins, and we see that our sun is moving a little bit here. So what's going to happen is that through diffusion, the auxins are going to move to the shady side of the stem. or the shoot, and it causes then the side toward the light or toward the sun to go towards that light. And that's where we get this bending that occurs. Here's the light side, less auxin. Here's the shade side, much more auxin in place. And that, of course, is going to affect the rate of photosynthesis. Now, we're going to look at photosynthesis in the next unit, but we know that in photosynthesis, plants need two things. They have to pull in water, which they're going to do through the roots, and they have to take in carbon dioxide through the stoma or pores on the plants through the atmosphere. So we now know, right, that our hormones play a big role here in the rate of photosynthesis. Those auxins are going to accumulate down near the bottom of the plant, and that is going to cause greater growth downward, and it gives a nice root base to our particular plant. Right. I'm going to put these couple of these video clips up for you to take a look at. I encourage you to make sure that you've read this section in your textbook on tropisms, and that you take a look at the video piece. Any questions, just let me know by email. Talk to you guys later. Hope everything is well. Stay safe. Be well.